that and called the band that. It's all connected. It's so I liked it. So it's what they call eponymous. So it's the band's named after the song, or the song's named after the band, whichever way around. I don't know.
Okay. How stressful was it to make this album?
Stressful? Not very, actually. Not very at all. I don't know if you know, the backstory of this album was made during the pandemic, the lockdowns. And so basically, I think everyone was locked in their own space somewhere across Europe. And I was in my attic. So we had basically nowhere to go and lots of time. So we just could work at it slowly. So it wasn't that stressful. I mean, the most stressful thing really was trying to, I don't know, I suppose, getting in touch with people and asking them if they could add a little bit of something to one of the songs. But most people were really, really good. Everyone was fantastic and said yes, no problem. The only stressful part, I suppose, was coming across the technical barriers of getting them from one place in Europe to where I was in Spain, and then converting them into a file that everybody could manage. But that's just fairly normal procedure. So it wasn't difficult to make. It was an enjoyable process to do. Yeah.
What is your favorite track on the album, and why?
That's a good one, isn't it? Well, I think one of the ones that I really like. Obviously, I wrote all the songs, so I like them all. But there is a song called "Strive" on the album. Yeah. And "Strive" for me was quite an important track, because it helped. Well, as I was putting the album together, I came to a point where my ideas kind of took shape, and it was when the light bulb went on. It was one of those moments, and I thought, yes, this is what I need to be doing. And it was when I wrote that song "Strive." It has a lot of the underlying philosophy of what I was trying to do with the band and the direction. And it was a mixture of instruments, traditional instruments and rock instruments. And it all came together in a nice moment, and it had a very good feel to it. And I felt very good when I had created that. And I thought, yes, this is telling me where I should be going. So I say it's a game changer. It's a game changer for me. I thought, yes, this is when the penny dropped, and this is where Theigns and Thralls came together and showed me the direction. So that's probably one of my favorites of the album.
Okay. Can you tell us something about festivals and tour plans for the year?
Well, not that much to tell at the moment, to be honest, because what we're doing is the album, as I say, is due out in April. Tomorrow, I'm with the band more or less today. We're going to start doing a warm-up gig tomorrow here in Spain. We're doing a gig, and we're going to record some of it for a future release when the album comes out. And next month, we're doing an album launch. So 2 of the guys from the band are from the Netherlands, not far from where you are, I think, yeah. And we're doing an album launch on the 22nd of April. And so that's the official album launch. So that's still about a month away. And once the album comes out, the next thing is to then start looking for festivals. The problem is that we have, I think, a little bit this year with the pandemic, that a lot of festivals have been cancelled from the last year or the year before. And so they're all full. I think everybody's been waiting for it. So it might be a little bit early to get. We will certainly try to find something, but it might be more realistic for us to think of something maybe in September time or October time in terms of touring. We might get a few festivals in, which would be nice. So anybody listening, we're available for festivals and touring now. So that's the next thing for this, because originally you got to understand that this was supposed to be, it turned into a recording project, and there was no band. It was only me in Madrid and some people, some friends. So there wasn't any band and no record or anything planned, but it's kind of built up and built up and built up. So now we have the full album out, and now we have a band, the nucleus of a band, a touring band. As I say, we're playing the first gig tomorrow. So now there's a band in place. The next step is to try and to make this become established, for the band to become established, and to start playing, and obviously look to doing more albums and stuff in the future. So it's become a reality now. It's become and so obviously if everybody follows the band on social media, websites, and all that sort of stuff, we will, as soon as we can get anything confirmed in terms of tours or festivals, we will post it out there, and hopefully get out before too long.
Yeah, we all hope so.
Yeah, it's been difficult because obviously we couldn't really book a lot of shows in advance because there was still lots of COVID restrictions, and even, I mean, it's better now, but even now there's still one or two things that cause problems, and still some gigs and festivals are getting cancelled. They're still not, it's still not perfect yet. So hopefully we're coming out of it now, and once we get the green light, we will go for it.
Okay. If you were stuck with which musician would you have with you, and why? If you were stuck on an elevator or a hotel room.
If I was stuck, that's a funny thing. That's a strange thing, isn't it? Let me think. It's a strange question. Let me think. Who and why? Well, somebody that I admire is a guy called David Byrne. And he's a singer, writer with a band called the Talking Heads. It's not very metal at all. But in terms of being and sitting and talking to somebody, I think he's a fascinating character. Somebody I really like. He's got lots of very original ideas, and I would be and entertaining to meet somebody like that. I think I'd be out of my depths a little bit, but I would still find it fascinating. I don't have many heroes or things like this it's difficult for me to pinpoint very many people. I mean, obviously in the past, somebody like David Bowie would have been, somebody like that would be fascinating to talk. But he strikes me as being somebody in a similar kind of vein. So to talk about a wide range of things, including music, I think he would be an interesting character.
Yeah. Good one. What do you feel has been your greatest accomplishment so far?
My greatest accomplishment so far. Let me see. I suppose one of the things I regard myself as being very fortunate is that most of the things that I set out to do many years ago, I've actually kind of accomplished most of them. I'm quite fortunate, I think, because of that. Maybe I didn't have very high expectations. Maybe that's why I've done it. But the things, because obviously when you start, you always start with something like, oh, I wish I could get in a band that could play some gigs, and then maybe we could record an album, and you kind of tick these things off. So yeah, I did that. What I started doing lots of years ago now is, I don't know if you know this, but I used to produce records as well. I used to record records. And so one of the accomplishments, I suppose, is I thought I'd like to learn how to record albums, and I did that. And I recorded a lot of new wave of British heavy metal bands back in the 80s. And eventually I was asked to record a band called Skyclad. Yeah. And so I did this record, the first album, with the band called Skyclad, over 30 years ago, in 1990. And we did this album called The Wayward Sons of Mother Earth. And a lot of people talk about that as being the beginning of folk metal. That's the album that started folk metal. according to lots of people, the consensus of opinion is generally that Skyclad were the pioneers of folk metal, which kind of is quite a thing for me, because it obviously it grew into a worldwide thing now, and so as an accomplishment, I think I'm quite proud of that one, to say that I was the producer of that record. We didn't know what we were doing, I have to say, 30 years ago, but whatever we produced, people seemed to like it, and they said, "Oh, this is the folk metal." And I sing with Skyclad, and I still do. Talking about festivals and stuff, you'll see that Skyclad are going to do some. So apart from doing Theigns and Thralls, I will be doing those festivals as well in the summer.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have to fit the Theigns and Thralls fits in around the Skyclad thing. You see, it was made as a side project for, if I'm not doing anything with Skyclad, I can do this as well. So Skyclad are still going after, as I say, 13 albums and 30 years, we're still going. So if I've done anything, people could check out the albums. Some of the albums are quite noteworthy. Some of the albums I did, but that one obviously stands out because it's a kind of a watershed album. Somebody marks time. This is the beginning of folk metal in 1990. So yeah, so that could put down as an accomplishment.
Yeah, and that's a lot of accomplishments, I must say.
Try.
How important do you feel it is for a band to have a close and personal interaction with the fans?
Oh, crucial, especially nowadays. The days where the band were over here somewhere and the fans are down here, like the Theigns and Thralls, are long gone. Because nowadays you have to interact on social media globally 24/7. It's very, very important. To me and Skyclad, it's always been very, very important of the way we operate, and I think I continued in that vein, because people ask why would you want to do this sort of thing? I mean, some people think it might be glamorous to do bands, but being in a band, but it's a lot of hard work and a lot of traveling, a lot of early, long days, late nights, lots of traveling, and sometimes not good food and not much sleep and all that sort of thing. So why would you do this sort of thing? And I always say that at the end of the day, it's all about people. That's the music business is about people. Simply as that. If you're not a people person, then maybe it's not going to be great for you. And you build up. I think you build up a lot of relationships in terms of fans, but not and promoters and festivals and all across Europe, all across the globe, and they stay with you for a long time. I've got lots of friends. I've mentioned Skyclad for 30 years, and I'm still friends with people I met on the road 30 years ago. So it's really, really crucially important that you can take time to talk to people. Especially, I say nowadays with social media, because people have access to you all the time. They can they message you and all that sort of thing. And it's obviously difficult because you can't be available 24/7 to answer everybody's message within minutes, but we try to participate with things. It doesn't take very much to say hello to somebody, or happy birthday to somebody, or things like this. It just takes a few seconds, and I think it's a two-way thing. You want people to come to the gigs and all that, so you have to sort of say hello to them as well, talk to them. And it's the main reason, one of the main reasons I think that get involved, to go out there and tour. Otherwise, you could just sit in the house and post stuff on Spotify if you wanted to.
Yeah. It's not the same.
It's not the same. No, it's not the same. Thankfully, getting an MP3 file is not the same as going to a gig.
What can we expect from you guys live?
Live, well, obviously with the album, I eventually ended up with about 25 people on the album. So don't expect 25 people to turn up on stage. That's one thing. They're all in different parts. As I say, there's a nucleus of a band, which is typical sort of bass, drums, 2 guitars and violin. and whistles. So we're going to try and make sense of these songs that we have recorded. Not only that, but some other things, some of my solo songs and other songs, and try and knit them together so it sounds like itself, so the band gets some sort of identity. That's the first thing. And once we've got that, we would also like to continue with the collaborations where possible with these people that have played on the record. So, for example, in Netherlands, when we play in Netherlands, anybody who played on the record from the Netherlands, maybe they can be guest musicians on stage. I'm really looking forward to that. That would be great. Or if we go to Finland, for example, there was some musicians played in Finland. If we're there, be nice if they could get on stage and add their special thing. So some surprise guests on the road as we going. I don't know if you've heard the song "Drinking." There's the first single that the band's put out is the one where everybody joins in off the album.
Yes. Oh, that's a lovely one.
Yeah,
I love the video.
Yes, that's a video. So at the concert, anybody who wants to join in, we can make that happen as well, I hope. And that sounds like it'd be a lot of fun to add these extra people over and above the band. And I say we can now look at the tracks that we've got and maybe adapt them. There's one or two little things that we've been looking at to do in a live situation, talking about people to get the audience involved. That it's very much a kind of a party band, I suppose. It's got a party atmosphere to what we do a lot of the time. And so we want the audience to get involved. So a lot of the songs are like drinking to get them to sing along and join in. And so there's going to be a party atmosphere, I hope.
Okay, I thought you were... Okay.
No, that's yeah.
Okay. Is there a song written by somebody else that you wish you had written?
Oof. Written by somebody else. Probably, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head which one. Probably lots, but let me think. Let me think. What song do I like? You've got me on the hop there. I'm thinking this. There's probably too many to mention. That's the problem. What songs do I like? No, I kind of think of one. Sorry, not the minute. It's none that comes to mind. I'll think if one comes to my mind, I'll mention it. But at the minute, there's probably too many.
Yeah, we can do this one later.
Yeah.
Which are your two favorite albums of all time?
Oof, there's these questions. One is definitely an album by a guy called Alan Hull, who was from the northeast of England, where I'm from. It's a solo album, and it's an album called Pipe Dream. Pipe Dream, which came out in 1973 or something like this, when I was learning to play guitar, and I was really hugely impressed because this guy is from a band called Lindisfarne, who are from the Newcastle where I come from, and I saw them on the TV, and I was amazed because there was people on the TV in London from Newcastle, and they were in the chart, and they were #1. It was like, wow. And so I didn't have many heroes. Actually, and I actually did meet Alan Hull a few years later. Yeah. And so he became a bit of a hero. He put this album out, and when I was at school and learning to play the guitar, I just had to learn all the songs on the album. It was just a really important album for me when I was a young guy. And another album, I'm not sure. What's another one? Again, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of albums come to mind as I'm doing these things. I'm trying to think. Another album. What? Trying to think. Which one can I say? Another album that I really like is the first Faith No More album. First Faith No More album, when that came out. That came out at an important time in my life. It seemed to me that came out, I think, in 1990, and it just seemed that the world just changed. Certainly changed for me in 1990. Everything. It seemed like the 80s. Somebody just shut the door on the 80s, and I said, "That's it. The 80s are finished, and now it's the 90s." And the 90s started, and all these bands came on, and particularly like Faith No More, the first album. It's like the 90s came roaring in, and they had all this stuff going on. And it seemed a very, again, like I said before about a game changer, a watershed moment. It just was, this new thing happened, and I remember the 90s being very, for me personally, a very positive time. It was a new decade, and everything happened, and it really was caught that moment in time in my life, and maybe for lots of other people, because the music seemed to change, and it was a very important album, I think, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you give me 4 words to describe Theigns and Thralls?
4 words?
Mm-hmm.
4 words. Right. 4 words. Let me say this. 4 words. 4 words. Let me say. It's. I wrote some of these things down for the label to describe these things. Everyone wants to know, is it folk metal or speed punk or Celtic speed punk or all this sort of stuff? It's a mixture of these things. Yeah.
Definitely.
Sorry? Definitely
fun.
Yes, it is. It's it gets quite serious, actually. It's humanist, for example. Yeah, it's a big thing. It's humanist. It's quite that's one of the main things that runs through it. I had these. There's lots of isms. I was trying to explain these guys to the isms, and there was my mind's gone blank for this thing here. So fun, yes, I'll go with fun for that. For fun, but it has a serious side to it. That's why I'm trying to think of what words you could use for the serious sides without sort of getting too serious. Hopefully, it's engaging and thoughtful, yeah, humanistic and classic. Yeah. One of the things about it is for some reason I mentioned the guys back in the 70s when I grew up playing it, the guitar. Some of those sounds and feels are something that I wanted to bring into the music somehow. So it has this kind of, it's a mixture of kind of Celtic speed punk, folk metal, and just basically classic rock and roll. Basically, it's a mixture of those things with some kind of themes underneath it that I often write about. It's got a lot of historical content and stuff, and traditional ideas. The idea being that for Theigns and Thralls, it talks about Theigns and Thralls, the things that happened 1,000 years ago, okay? The way society was. And it suggests that in the 1,000 years, some things haven't really changed very much. In other words, the rich people are still rich. Yeah, and the poor people, Then so some people up here own lots, and the rest of us have always been at the bottom, and this hasn't changed in all this time. And so this is a kind of thing that a lot of these songs explore, you know, is it any different really? Any different really? Yeah. That's it.
Do you have some final words for your fans and our viewers?
Well, yeah. The only thing I can say is I know is this from Belgium, yeah?
It's from England, but I'm from Belgium.
Ah, it's in England.
Yes.
Oh, right. Well, that's a funny thing because obviously I'm English and I'm not in England either. Yeah, I'm not in England either. So for England, I mean, England's been a problematic. We've had this, obviously, you had pandemic, this lockdown, and I don't live there anymore. And obviously, we have this thing called Brexit, which has created problems. Yes. For musicians, particularly coming in and out. Maybe it's not so much for me because I'm obviously English, but for English musicians coming this way and people going from Europe to England, it's created problems. Hopefully we can work around them this year. As I said before, that the restrictions are starting to be lifted, which means that we might be able to actually go and play some shows and gigs this year. So watch out for it, and if we can, and obviously in England it'll be easy because we all speak English. So come up and say hello, and we'll have a beer and have some fun.
What a good idea!
Yes.
So Pete, Kevin, I'd like to thank you for this interview. It was really enjoyable. I hope to see you live.
Yes, it'll be good.
And I wish you a good evening.
Okay, good evening. Thanks now.
Good evening. Bye, Kevin.
Bye.
Bye.
Found, but an eternal health goes around. Fill up the bowl, then fill it high. Fill all the glasses there.